say over the intercoms, they say, sit down, enjoy the flight, and enjoy the in-sight service. Not the in-flight service, the in-sight service. That's what you do, enjoy the in-sight service. So you sit down, let go, enjoy the in-sight service. Okay, so try that. Any comments about that? Yeah. What are the mental processes? That's coming tonight, about the mental processes and anger and all that sort of stuff. So, that's something to look forward to tonight, how to deal with those other things. This is just watching the breath without getting involved in it. Leave it alone. Ajahn, during meditation, sitting or walking, is it necessary that the tongue touches the upper palate? For walking meditation, is there any specific movement for the hand? Okay, no, you can put your tongue anywhere. You can put it out if you like. As long as your tongue can just be happy. So ask your tongue where it wants to be. And wherever it wants to be kind to your tongue. And just let it be like that. This is actually sometimes what I do. When I start meditating, I close my eyes. Actually, one of the important things is, especially group meditation, everybody must close their eyes. Don't keep your eyes open. One of the important reasons is if we know that we've all got our eyes closed, that if you've got any itch on an important part of your body, you can scratch it knowing no one's looking. If you want to pick your nose, you know that no one can see you. So you say, the point is that you just try to get your body comfortable. However it's comfortable. So what I do sometimes, I ask my feet, are you happy down there? Now it's not being stupid, because when you actually ask that question of a part of the body, mindfulness goes down there and you get an answer. If you never ask, you're never told. So you ask, feet, are you happy? Knees, how are you going on down there? Bottom, you comfy? Ask the question. So shoulders, how are you getting on? Head, are you okay? And now the person who asks this question always asks tongue. How are you doing in there, in the mouth? And then the tongue will answer, yeah, I'm comfortable, I'm not comfortable. Because when you actually ask that question, you look, you're mindful, and then you get the answer. It does not matter where the tongue is as long as it's comfortable. The same with the hands. It doesn't matter where the hands are as long as it's comfortable. You just leave them alone after a while. And that's all you need to do. There is no absolutely correct posture. And I mentioned that the other day when I had a fever in a hospital. That was that story where that nurse built like a water buffalo would stab me twice a day with the blood needle. I had a fever, I was sore, I got in a deep meditation, I was in this really ridiculous posture. It was all over the place, but it worked for me. It wasn't any posture, it wasn't I was lying on the bed, but it wasn't like the lion posture like you see the Buddha lies down in Kusinara. It was a leg over this way, a leg that way, an arm over here, all over the place. But it didn't matter. For me it was comfortable. And I go into deep meditation as a result. So don't look for other people, how they're sitting. Look for yourself. That's why you can sit in a chair. That is fine, as long as you're comfortable. Dear Ajahn, is funeral chanting for a deceased person important? Can the ceremonies help the deceased person in reincarnation? Thank you. Sometimes I explain that when I do the chanting for a deceased person, I also use that chanting to focus my mind, to concentrate the mind, especially on such things as a metta sutta, to focus my mind on the meaning of metta. I use that as a tool of focusing. And then I can actually spread loving kindness to the one who's passed away. Sometimes it's too much chanting though. If it's too much chanting, you don't hear it after a while. So it's important, it's special chanting. You use it for a purpose. And when you use it for that purpose, it might work. Imagine if it's the person who's listening to it and the monks chant in Pali. Imagine that I chanted in Pali at your funeral and you were floating above there, You can't even understand the Pali now. How will you understand the Pali when you're dead? So the point is that you won't understand the meaning of the words, but you'll understand the meaning behind it, the implicit meaning, which goes from mind to mind. That's why it's a very interesting point of psychic truth. Because I wondered when I was first a monk, in Thailand, do the Thai ghosts speak Thai? If so, if they came to see me and they said something, they wouldn't be able to scare me because I wouldn't know what the hell they were talking about. Do the Chinese ghosts speak Mandarin? If they did, they'd go and try and haunt the Malays. They wouldn't be able to. What are you talking about? What language does ghosts speak? Have you had a ghost come to you and say something? Was it in Teochew or Mandarin or Malay? It's not. The ghosts speak the language of the mind. So even if you are a Westerner and you got this old Chinese ghost, you'd understand perfectly what he or she said. Mind to mind. That's how the communication works. So, because of that, you understand that when a person's a ghost that just died, it's the same as a ghost, but no, not really a ghost, because it's just a mind-made body just for the time being. They will understand through the mind. So they may be maybe an old grandmother who can't speak English at all. You get a monk like me to give a sermon, they will understand what I say. Because it's mind to mind. So yeah, it can work. Any questions about that? No? Good. Why do some monks disrobe? Ajahn Brahm, who was abbot of Perth Monastery in the past, suddenly disrobed. Can you explain a bit? No, that's a hard one. Why do monks disrobe? I disrobe every day before I go into the shower. That's not real disrobing. Why do some monks leave the monkhood? Actually, I've been a monk for many, many years now. 30 years I've been a monk, just over 30 years. And so I've seen many monks disrobe, and these are my friends, and so I know exactly why they disrobe. Now, first of all, there's the explanation or the excuse why they disrobe. And please know the excuse is very rarely the reason. The real reason why they disrobe is one thing. The excuse they give is something else. The real reason why a monk disrobes is because they haven't got enough happiness. Because when you become a monk or a nun, you start off with inspiration. You've got so much faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. You've got so much inspiration in the path of renunciation. And that inspiration gives you happiness for many years. But after a while, like anything else, the inspiration wears off. It's there to start giving you another source of joy. And that source of joy has to be from your meditation. If your meditation takes off and you have happiness in your meditation, like some people here have already got some happiness in their meditation, because I watch them smiling, then you don't want to disrobe anymore. Because you've got a happiness which is so wonderful and so beautiful. Why do you want to go back to the world? Remember, like for monks, some of the very young monks, they can't just be apart from seeing girls and pretty girls, because you live in the world. I mean, Ajahn Chah once said, when he was a young monk, like any other young monks, he had lust. And so he decided for 3 months not even to look at a woman for the rains retreat. And he'd always look down. He would never look to the left or the right. If he thought there was a woman somewhere, he wouldn't look at them. And, of course, he didn't have any lust for those 3 months. Didn't see anyone. Once his determination, resolution was finished, he finished the 3 months. The first girl he looked on, wow, bam. He had so much lust. And he realized that's not the way to deal with it. Just by not trying to look at these things. Because they're there. You'll eventually see it. As a monk, you have to deal with that. And the way you deal with it, the best way, this is according to the sutras, you get the happiness of meditation. And when you've got the inner happiness, you don't look for happiness outside. It's the psychology of your mind that will always look for happiness. And if you deprive it of happiness, it will go somewhere to find happiness. You've already experienced this in your meditation. If you're not happy in the moment, the mind will start thinking about something else. Or fantasize, dream of the past, plan the future. Why does it do that? It's because you're not happy now. That's why. Once you're really happy in this moment, you just don't want to think about anything else. You're still. Happiness is the key to meditation. It's the key to life. It's the key to enlightenment. It's happiness. When a monk is happy, they never want to disrobe. And that happiness which comes within from meditation gets so strong. You can look at pretty girls, you can be with pretty girls, but you've got the inner happiness. So the mind never goes out to lust. It doesn't want happiness outside because it's got enough inside. It's not hungry, so it never wants the food of the outside world. It's got the inner food. That's why monks stay as monks. Which is why it's very good when a monk is a young monk to protect them, to manage to give them the strength in their meditation, the strong states of mind, and once they get established in the inner happiness, then they're safe. Doesn't matter where they go. And it's actually good fun being a good monk, because sometimes you can see these incredibly pretty girls, and they get very upset at you. You know why? You don't look at them. Because if you're a very beautiful girl, that you get used to all these guys looking at you all the time. And when a guy comes along and just treats you just as someone ordinary, what's wrong with you? This happened to me about a few years ago. I went to this meditation group in Sydney, a very expensive part of Sydney. It was actually Double Bay. And in this meditation group was a TV star. This girl who goes in many, many TV programs. She's very famous, very well known, very beautiful. But I don't watch the TV. I didn't know who she was. So when I started giving this talk, she was looking at me and smiling. And I don't know, what's she on about? I don't know. And I was looking at other people and just giving a talk as usual. And she got very upset because I didn't recognize her. I didn't say, there's that so-and-so, she's in the movies. Because she was so used to being recognized. That was her pride, that was her ego. And when I as a monk just treated her as an ordinary person, she was very upset. There's this story, I saw this in one of the newspapers, when George Bush the I, when he was just became elected as the President of the United States, he went to visit UK. And he was at a cocktail party, like a reception, and this English lady came up to him and said, "Who are you?" He was so upset. He said, "I'm the President of the United States." Oh, come on, don't joke. And he was. So you get very upset when you don't recognize. So anyway, back to being like a monk. If you've got inner happiness, you'll never disrobe. If anyone wants to check that one out, that's called in the Chandako Sutta. So the consolations of being a monk. He said if you get into the first jhana, that's the first consolation. You've given up a lot. You've given up no sex, you've given up family, you've given up no movies, TV and all those sensory pleasures. You've given up eating whatever you like, when you like it. In return, if you get those deep meditations, Ananda said that's the first consolation for being a monk. Once you have that, chances are you'll never disrobe. That's why monks disrobe, why they stay. So be kind to the monks who disrobe. They've tried their very best. It's not an easy life. But if they get that deep meditation, they're going to be monks forever. Any questions on that? Next question. It's also not just the deep meditations, also the other consolations of the stages of enlightenment, stream winner and above. If you become a stream winner, this the Buddha says, even if the king comes with all his fortunes, you still don't want to disrobe. So if you're a stream winner or got savajana, you're never going to disrobe. Dear Ajahn, would it be possible to end the morning chanting with a short session of metta meditation led by you? Thank you. It'd be possible, but if people wanted it or not, I don't know. So, okay. Is it nice in the morning, loving kindness meditation? Who thinks, we should have, let's have a show of hands. Who thinks we should have a short metta meditation after morning chanting? Put your hands up. Okay. Those who don't think you should have a short metta meditation after morning chanting, put your hands up. I get outvoted, okay. In the evening, yeah. It's usually nice to do, because sometimes in the morning people are a bit tired. But I don't know, we might do it in the morning. Who prefer it in the morning rather than the evening? Put your hand up. Okay. Who prefer it in the evening rather than the morning? I think the mornings win. So it could be the morning. Okay, we'll try that tomorrow morning. Next question. Isn't that putting effort in being in the mind to present moment and being with the one who knows one acts of doing? Thank you, Ajahn. Outside meditation time and daily life, how much should we get involved with the doer? Okay, outside of meditation, when you're active in the world, where you're doing your duties, you have to do that the best you possibly can. 100% effort. But not just effort, wise effort. Because wisdom is the most important thing with effort. You can be very, very strong. You can be the most powerful person in the world and still create lots of trouble. It's important to be wise as well as strong. And wisdom is one of the great strengths. So make sure it's wise, compassionate, as well as doing things. But when you bring the mind to the present moment, it's actually the opposite of doing. It's letting go of doing. You may make that resolution, okay, I'm going to come into the present moment. But really, you're doing letting go. You're abandoning the future. You're abandoning the past. It is an act of letting go. Which is why that sometimes people look at the monks and say, you monks, you're just attached to being a monk. And that's a really stupid thing to say. This is letting go. It's like saying, you're attached to letting go. So anyone who tells me, you're attached to being a monk, and I say, yeah, and you're attached to being a layperson. You said it first. You give up your layperson first of all. Come be a monk. And if you've been a monk for about 10 years, then I'll go be a layperson. Of course, I won't never be able to do that. Because the point is, this is letting go. This is attachment. This is detachment. But sometimes we don't know the difference between attachment and letting go. And this is something even the Buddha said, that sometimes ordinary people, deluded people, what's detachment, they say, is attachment. They say, what is attachment? They say, is detachment. They don't know the difference between the two. Real detachment is freedom. It's letting go, not getting involved. Disengaging. Monks disengage from the world. That's why it's called detachment. We disengage from our body, which is why it's called meditation. We disengage from samsara, which is why it's called enlightenment. All stages of letting go. So please know what's attachment and what isn't. If you put effort to bring the mind to the present moment, it's like holding the mind like this. Keep in the present moment or else. You won't be able to do it. You let go, you put down the past. You put down the future. You let go of those two things. The only thing you've got left is now. This is what happens when you let go of time. You're in the present. So it is an act of letting go, not an act of attachment. Okay? Next question. Here we go. Can you advise us on how we could be more interested in watching our normal and uninspiring breaths moment to moment? Wow. Your breaths are not uninspiring. They are literally